The Dauntless 1.6.0 update brought to us primal behemoths, and along with them came a new ability called Perfect Strike. When you dodge through a behemoth's attack, you gain stacks of perfection, and once you have enough stacks of perfection, dealing damage will use the stacks up for a chain explosion, similar to that of the hammer's Aether Slam. This new ability is pretty decent. It can interrupt behemoths and deals a good chunk of damage. It is definitely a nice addition to the arsenal of a slayer. But what if you were to take everything else out of your slaying arsenal, to the point where it was nearly all of the damage you dealt to the behemoths? Can you reach max weapon level in Dauntless by only using Perfect Strike? Well, that's the question we'll be tackling today. Hello everyone, I am Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, and welcome to the channel. Before we start, I have to give a massive thank you to Cosplay, Relic, and Espresso for helping me out with this run. And a big thank you to SSGSS over 9000 for suggesting this video idea to me. If you guys enjoy Dauntless and are not subscribed already, consider subscribing to the channel. Here I post Dauntless content every week. And if you guys are considering making any purchases through any Epic Games platform, consider using code TheMrTrails at checkout. The A is before the I. And if you would like my Dauntless in-game flair, head over to the Twitch. We hang out every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So how does one go about doing a Perfect Strike only reforge? Well, right off the bat, we have to say that you technically can't. You have to deal damage to get Perfect Strike to activate, so we had to deal a bit of damage without it throughout the run. However, I would estimate that about 90 to 95% or so of the total damage dealt throughout the run was from Perfect Strike, the only other two sources of damage being the Warpike's light attack and my lantern hold. So how do we go about a mostly Perfect Strike reforge? Well, in the intro, I already mentioned the first method of gaining stacks of perfection, which is dodging through attacks. With a maxed out Faction of the Past skill tree giving you max efficiency, you gain 75% of a use of Perfect Strike per attack dodged. And while that's fine in certain contexts, when you want to make Perfect Strike your only source of damage, that would be rather slow. Another way to gain stacks of perfection is to break primal suppression pillars in the bottom left of the Faction of the Past skill tree. With each pillar broken, you gain 5 stacks of perfection. However, if you yourself are going about breaking the pillars, you'll end up using your stacks as you go around breaking them. And that's where Espresso, Cosplay, and Relic came in. Their help in this reforge session was to enter a primal behemoth's fighting area, break the pillars, respawn them, and continue to break them over and over again, giving me stacks of perfection throughout the run. And because of a small oversight, when it comes to breaking these pillars, you can actually gain unlimited stacks of perfection beyond the intended maximum of 10. And all of the charges of Perfect Strike you have get used up on the first time you deal damage, meaning with enough stacks of perfection, the behemoths are easily one-shot. The first that I saw of this was from Volgox, doing a one-punch meme with it. Now, it's not like this is a particularly good method to fighting behemoths, especially when it comes to the whole team getting a reforge quickly, but it's kind of funny to see what it can cause. I didn't exactly want to use this bug as much as I did, however, for the sake of Cosplay, Espresso, and Relic's sanity, I decided we should try to make this go as fast as possible. So a good part about this method of gaining stacks of perfection is that I was going to be able to be anywhere on the map, and as long as they were breaking pillars, the stacks of perfection were still given to me. This meant that I could still fight the behemoths solo in other combat areas, meaning that the behemoths had a lot less HP this way. So with a bit of the explanation of the game plan for this reforge done, let's jump into how the run went. To be honest, I probably started the timer for this a bit early, as it took us about 3 minutes or so after starting the timer to get ourselves set up and actually punching pillars. And beyond that, we still got off to a bit of a slow start, the boys having to deal with an Embermane as the primal behemoth that they were hanging out with, and myself having to start off with killing a Skarn, which took about 2 minutes to get the kill on it. And these early levels could have also gone quite a bit faster since I didn't really think about the build I was using at first, so I had 6 catalyst when not using any tonics. And your build is pretty important, as the perfect strike damage does actually scale with your build. With 7 minutes on the timer, I reached level 2, but a lot of that was again just getting situated. And after the next behemoth, which was unfortunately a level 13 Valimir, I was at level 3, about 10 minutes in. Something I found to be neat as I was doing this is that you can use your lantern hold to activate a perfect strike. Then perfect strike will give you another lantern hold to use on the next time, meaning in some cases you don't even have to pull out your weapon. And something that I should also probably mention was that this whole thing was sped up a bit due to having the Slayers Club experience bonus. Not that this is exactly a test of how fast you can reforge, but I feel like a lot of you are still curious about the time it took. It was already at level 4 that I had my first one-shot occur, rolling up to an Ember main with 88 stacks of perfection. As we got into the levels where my perfect strike was actually dealing damage, we started to pick up the pace a bit. I reached level 5 around 17 minutes in, which is a bit behind the pace of some of my other reforge runs. I found around level 7 and 8 that it was actually quite a bit better to fight behemoths closer to my level, since as the amount of damage that I had to deal to the behemoths increased, the number of pillars the others needed to destroy also increased by quite a bit. At about 40 minutes in, I reached level 10, and it was here that we decided to move over to Hades Reach. So at this point we were about 10 minutes behind some of the other reforges, but we did have quite a bit of time loss, or time you should really just subtract in general. Then the timer actually falls quite a bit farther behind than that, as we lost about 7 minutes after this due to Espresso's game crashing and then having to find another primal behemoth. Things were going decently fast in Hades Reach after this though, as I realized that I had the useless utility cell while in Brightwood and corrected that. Levels were coming about 5 to 10 minutes apart at this point, and in a little under an hour and 15 minutes in, I reached level 15. And as many of you may know, the levels come a lot slower after this point, especially since we deemed it necessary to go to Twilight Sanctuary, since the underleveled behemoths in Hades Reach would yield a very slow experience rate, and we unfortunately couldn't practically do this challenge in escalation. Though one of the downsides to Twilight Sanctuary was Shroud and Flameborn Rezakiri, who have rather high HP values. About halfway through level 17, we ran into a situation where we wanted to re-queue, then lost about 15 minutes or so due to connectivity issues and cosplay going for a coffee break. I think what this experience has taught me is how slow the hunting grounds is for getting those final few levels. Even while one-shotting a good number of the behemoths, it still took about 10 minutes per level, and this is on the highest level island possible. Much of this is caused by how the experience curve so massively favors the higher level behemoths than the player, and so heavily punishes fighting a lower level behemoth. Since there's only about a 1 in 4 chance of getting a higher level behemoth when you're at level 19, and it's 1 level higher than you are, the level 19 to level 20 grind in the hunting grounds becomes a bit of a pain. Regardless, after we got resituated after cosplay's coffee break, about 20 minutes later, I had successfully completed a reforge using Perfect Strike as my main method of damage. The final time on the timer was 2 hours and 25 minutes. However, you could say that this reforge took about 2 hours, with all of the time we were just sitting around doing nothing or having connectivity issues, which still actually makes this quite a bit slower than a reforge you can do without actually utilizing any bugs, as I had a fully legitimate reforge done in 91 minutes. Even with that being said, this still was a pretty fun and interesting reforge to do. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like on the video. And if you enjoyed Dauntless and are not subscribed already, consider subscribing to the channel. Here I post Dauntless content every week. And we are very close to that 10,000 subscriber milestone. And if you're watching my content anyway, you might as well subscribe. To stay up to date with my content, both here on YouTube and on Twitch, as well as to keep up with any potential giveaways I'll be doing, join the Discord server in the description. I manually make a post whenever I do anything content or giveaway related. I have been Trevor, I go by the Mr. Trails, and I will catch you guys next time.